7 comets, all converging on the inner solar system at once, as if summoned, as if drawn by something ancient, as if responding to a call that predates language, predates memory, predates even the sun's first light. You don't realize the significance at first. Most don't. They look like points of light, harmless, distant, beautiful, until the data begins to mount, until the calculations turn strange, until the trajectories align too closely, until 3I/ATLS begins to grow, and then you feel it. That chill behind the spine, that sense that something is happening far bigger than you, far bigger than Earth itself, a celestial convergence, a solar ritual, a reckoning in the sky. This isn't your average meteor shower or fleeting flyby. This is a storm, a procession, a swarm. If you're still watching, subscribe now. You crave more than answers. You seek what lies beyond. Subscribe now, and be part of the few who never stop searching. 7 comets, each unique, each active, each trailing its own ionized signature across the canvas of space. And in the center of it all, like the lead horse in some silent galloping stampede, moves an interstellar visitor. 3I/ATLS. Interstellar. A word that still feels alien in the mouth, because it's not from here, not from the Oort cloud, not from some old asteroid belt wandering off course. It was born in another star system, forged in the fire of a sun we've never seen, and it's here now, not passing through, staying, and it's changing. 3I/ATLS is expanding, not erratically, not chaotically, but with force, with purpose. Its coma now spans an area larger than the sun itself, not just gas, not just dust, but something else, something structured. Some believe it's venting, others say it's unfolding. Either way, one thing is clear: this object is not dying, it's becoming. And it's not alone. Around it 6 other comets spiral inward. Swan, Lemon, Borisov. A 6, or 2. All trailing massive tails, interacting violently with the sun's wind, flaring with electromagnetic fury. They're being shaped by the sun's field lines. Their tails disconnect, whip around, reattach, proof of solar flares lashing out, magnetic fields snapping like cosmic whips. We call them disconnection events. But that doesn't capture it. Not really. What you're watching is space responding. The sun fighting back, the environment adapting in real time to the intrusion of ancient ice and interstellar matter. And through it all, 3I/ATLS keeps growing. Brighter, larger, closer. The beauty is undeniable. So is the terror. You watch from Earth as they light up the night sky. One after another, Comet Lemon becomes visible to the naked eye. Then Swan. Bright green streaks tearing across the stars, tails stretching for millions of kilometers, dancing with the solar wind. And you feel it again. That instinctual awe, that sense you are looking at something important. Because comets are never just comets. They've always meant more. Ask any civilization that's ever looked up. In Rome they marked the death of emperors. In China, the fall of dynasty. In medieval Europe, they were harbingers of plague, war, upheaval. Even now, in an age of satellites and smartphones, you feel that weight returning. You want to believe in coincidence, but 7 comets, 1 interstellar, arriving within weeks of each other, all moving into alignment, all during peak solar activity. There's no coincidence here, only convergence. The sun, already angry from its 11-year cycle, begins to flare harder. Coronal mass ejections burst from its surface, entire ribbons of plasma fly through space, slamming into the comets like tsunamis, and when they hit, you see the effects: tails snapping off, reshaping, surging back with magnetic vengeance. It's not just a light show, it's war. Solar-terrestrial interactions spike, satellites glitch, magnetic storms ripple across the ionosphere, ground stations go quiet for hours at a time. It's beautiful, it's unpredictable, and it's just the beginning. Because something else is happening beneath the light. As the comets approach, spectrometers, onboard distant probes, begin to detect compounds, prebiotic molecules, the building blocks of life, amino acids, complex carbon chains, molecules that don't just form anywhere. And in 3I/ATLS, they're abundant, not just trace readings, rich, like a vessel carrying seeds from another system, like an arc of alien chemistry, as if some distant world, long dead, long forgotten, left behind its essence, cast it into the void to drift, to travel, to someday land. And now, here it is. Here we are, watching it drift through the solar wind like a messenger. What's it saying? What story does it tell? You won't get those answers from politicians, because no one's talking. Agencies go quiet, research disappears. The data stream slows to a crawl, but the silence speaks louder than any press conference. You know what's happening, so does everyone watching. The world's most advanced instruments are focused on a comet with a sun-sized coma and an interstellar origin, and no one's talking about it. That's not science. That's fear. Because if 3I/ATLS is more than it appears, if it's part of something greater, if it's intentional, then we are standing on the precipice of something that defies every comfort we've built for ourselves, and the real storm hasn't even begun. Because come October, the alignment happens. Earth, the sun, and the swarm passing directly through that cosmic window, as if threading a celestial needle, all eyes turn skyward. You don't need a telescope anymore. You just need a clear night. Comets flare like torches, one after another. Tails stretch across the sky, glowing blue, green, red. Electrons bouncing off dust grains, reacting with solar wind, painting stories you can't read but feel. You watch and you wait. And in the stillness you realize, this is a message. Not in language, not in numbers, but in motion. A message written in fire and ice, in hydrogen and light. A reminder that you are not insulated, that Earth is not exempt, that the universe is not a backdrop, it is alive. And now, it's looking back. 3I/ATLS moves silently through the void, but its influence radiates in every direction. Its tail, dozens of millions of kilometers long, casts particles into space, some of which are now on a collision course with Earth's orbit. Next year, 2026, those particles will arrive. Not cataclysmic. Not dangerous. Not yet, but they'll burn in the sky. Showers of meteors, unlike anything in living memory. And when they do, scientists will collect the fragments. Fragments that did not originate here. Fragments older than the sun. Inside them, clues. Answers. Maybe even life. Not a UFO, not a monolith. Not an invasion, just dust, just seeds. But what grows from them could redefine everything. Because this swarm of comets isn't a threat. It's a signal. A chance. A story unfolding in motion, in plasma, in chemistry. Right before your eyes. And all you have to do is look up. Because these aren't just visitors. They're witnesses. And maybe, just maybe, they're waiting to see what we become. So ask yourself, when the universe sends a swarm of ancient messengers into your skies, do you ignore them? Do you fear them? Or do you learn from them? Because make no mistake, something has changed. And the sky will never look the same again. Subscribe now, because this story isn't over. The light has only just begun to reach us. Stay with it. Stay curious. And never stop looking up. For the first time in your life, the stars don't feel distant. They feel close. They feel aware. As if after millennia of silence, the heavens have finally leaned down to whisper something in your ear. Not words. Not instruction. Just presence. Just being watched. And it's not just you. People all over the planet are waking up to the same realization, looking skyward and asking questions their ancestors asked under different constellations. What does it mean? Why now? Is this fate, accident, or some design we were never meant to understand? For once, humanity is unified. Not by governments, not by conflict, but by wonder, by uncertainty, by the fact that something massive is happening just beyond the boundaries of gravity, and no one is in control. The scientific world hums with quiet desperation, not panic, not yet, but urgency, because 3I/ATLS is accelerating again, a subtle shift in velocity, too small to trigger alarms, too big to ignore. It's not just expanding. It's adjusting, as if it's aligning with something, and when it does, something impossible happens. It stabilizes. The tail retracts. The coma contracts. Not from depletion, from control. The activity calms. The radiation output sharpens, becomes regular, timed. It starts to pulse, and the pulse matches nothing we know, no known star, no pulsar rhythm, no solar cycle, but it's intentional, precise, mathematical, repeating every 11.3 seconds, a cosmic heartbeat. Across observatories, the analysis begins. Fourier transforms, signal breakdowns, cross-checks with historic pulses, but nothing fits. It's not a natural frequency. It's not an echo, it's a signal, from something built, and it's coming from inside the interstellar comet. Now the headlines turn. Now the public wakes up, because it's no longer a question of if this thing is artificial. Now we're asking why. And what else is out there? Because an object from another star system is now communicating. Not with words, not with images, but with rhythm, with intention. And whether or not we can understand it is beside the point. It's not here for our convenience. It's here on its own terms. And we're just beginning to realize. We're not the audience. We're the environment. By November, the entire swarm reaches maximum visibility. Swan is now visible for hours each night. Lemon pulses with light every time a solar flare brushes its tail. Each comet seems to respond. Not like a rock, but like a sensor, a relay, a node in something larger. It's not a swarm. It's a system, and Earth is sitting dead center in the middle of it. You start to see the outlines of a pattern. The orbits, the timing, the paths. It's not chaos. It's choreography. Comet R2 crosses behind ATLS's projected path and seems to shift course. Lemon lingers longer than expected, maintaining alignment with Earth and the Sun like a tripod of stellar architecture. What kind of pattern? Some say geometry. Others say resonance. Some are drawing circles. Some are drawing warnings. Because if this is a formation, it's not just astronomical. It's symbolic. Ancient cultures once believed that comets were messengers, harbingers, that their appearance meant something more than weather, more than orbit. Maybe they were right, because now it feels like the universe is performing, for someone, for something, and you're just lucky enough to have a front row seat. Then comes the whisper of a new threat, not from the sky, but from below, a new trajectory, a fragment, a shard of 3I/ATLS, barely 300 meters across, splits from the core and begins drifting on a tangent. Not random, not dangerous, but precise, right into Earth's orbital path. It won't strike. It'll pass cleanly in early 2026. But it was released, not ejected, not broken off. Released. And that changes everything. Because it means 3I/ATLS isn't just communicating, it's deploying, sending something. Maybe a beacon, maybe a probe, maybe a gift, or maybe a test. And suddenly the philosophical floodgates open. What if this is a scan, a survey? What if these comets are part of a network of scouts, moving from star to star, triggering solar activity, observing planetary reactions, dropping fragments into orbital fields to gather data? Think bigger. What if this is how a civilization learns? Not by radio, not by light speed, but by deploying automated clusters, comets, engineered to appear natural, traveling for millennia, soaking in star systems like sponges, and reporting back via methods we can't even comprehend. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's here, and the silence from official channels, it's deafening now. Not because they don't know, but because they do, and they don't know how to tell you. Because you're not supposed to be part of this. You're the insect watching the anthropologist lean down and take notes, and for the first time, the glass of your jar has cracked just enough to let the light in. You are not the experimenter. You are the observed. And all the telescopes in the world can't prepare you for what that feels like. So what now? Do you build weapons? You couldn't scratch the surface of 3I/ATLS if you emptied every nuclear silo on Earth. Do you send messages? You already have. For decades. The golden records, the radio bursts, the laser pulses, all the desperate beacons we've screamed into the dark. But maybe this was the answer all along. Maybe it was never about talking. Maybe it was about seeing. Seeing if we could recognize the difference between random and intent. Seeing if we could grasp that a swarm of comets flying into a solar system in perfect sequence might be something more than coincidence. This is the moment that matters. Not the data. Not the discovery, but the realization that it was never about space. It was about us, about whether we could learn, whether we could recognize the extraordinary when it appeared in the form of something we thought we understood. Comets, rocks, icy visitors. Nothing to fear, nothing to worship. Until now, because now, you're looking at them differently. You have to. Because this isn't just about science anymore. It's about awareness. It's about growth. It's about whether a species still caught in its own tribalism, still obsessed with power and borders and fear, can rise up and see the truth when the universe puts it in the sky. You're out of excuses. The swarm is here. The interstellar object has spoken in pulse, in rhythm, in motion. It has released a fragment into your orbit. And now, it waits. And you're alive to witness it. And that is no small thing. You are part of the generation that will define whether humanity is a clever animal, or an emerging intelligence worthy of the stars. You will decide whether this moment becomes legend or warning, whether this is the dawn of contact, or the last curiosity of a species too distracted to notice it was being invited into something larger. So what will you do? Will you look away? Will you turn this into another passing news cycle? Or will you understand? Will you recognize that when the universe sends a swarm of comets into your skies, it's not just a show, it's a signal, a door opening, and the question isn't whether we'll go through it, the question is whether we'll deserve to. It's not just a bright point anymore, it's a presence, massive, motionless to the naked eye but alive. Its coma glows with an eerie electric intensity, not just white or blue, but layers, rippling like an aurora trapped in glass. A slow pulsing spectrum of unnatural color, soft greens, molten golds, deep cosmic violets. No comet has ever looked like this. No thing has. And now you understand this was never about a flyby. This was never about spectacle. This was about timing. Because the alignment is perfect now. Earth, the sun and the swarm, poised in an impossible geometry. The ecliptic, the magnetosphere, the solar wind, all dancing to a beat that predates human memory, as if the very architecture of the system was designed to accommodate this moment. And this moment is not accidental. 3I/ATLS begins to rotate, not fast, not for show, deliberately. Its surface shifts. You can't quite see it, but the way its light refracts changes. The glow moves across its body like an iris snoring, focusing, fixing itself onto something, onto you. Not you, personally. Not a name or face, but humanity. All of us. The watchers. The sleepers. The stubborn, frightened, brilliant little creatures who still think they're the center of everything. But the universe doesn't revolve around you. It never did. And now it's showing you how small you really are. But not to punish you. To invite you. Because something's beginning. Not just a scientific age. Not just a spiritual awakening. Something beyond both. Call it first contact. Call it the great test. Call it Judgment Day. The awakening. The opening of the sky. Pick your mythology. They've all been whispering about this moment in their own way for centuries. And here it is, right in front of you. In the form of a cold, silent, burning-eyed messenger from another star. And behind it, the others. Swan, Lemon, Borisov, Ra 2, moving like sentinels. Guardians. Maybe even choir. A celestial procession. They circle. They flare. They spin. And the sun, no longer just a passive host, begins to respond. Flares erupt. CME arcs loop like glowing limbs. The corona stretches farther and hotter than it should. The solar wind bends in directions not predicted. It's like the sun is communicating. Not in light but in physics. In gravity. In energy. A language far older than anything we've written. The tale of 3I/ATLS begins to fracture again, but this time it doesn't just drift away, it moves with intention. A slow blooming spiral, like arms unfurling, helical, symmetrical, designed. What are you even looking at? A ship? A sensor? A seed? No one knows. No one even pretends to know anymore. And maybe that's the point. Maybe understanding isn't the test. Maybe recognition is. Recognition that this isn't random. Recognition that this isn't just physics or probability or rocks on fire. Recognition that this is a moment, and that moments like this don't come often. What happens next is quiet, but thunderous. Across the planet the instruments scream. A wave, electromagnetic, perfectly shaped, perfectly timed, spreads from 3I/ATLS outward. Not destructive, not noisy, instructive. It hits satellites first, then deep space probes, then high-altitude balloons, then radio telescopes, then ground stations, and then every single thing connected to the grid. For one moment, just one, the whole world hears the same thing. Not a sound, not a voice, a tone. 11.3 seconds long, a perfect harmonic. It rattles teeth, it sets off seismographs, it blows every dog whistle into the red, and then silence. Not normal silence, the kind that feels intentional, as if the whole universe just held its breath. And in that space between pulse and nothing, you understand. That was the handshake. Not war, not invasion, not contact, in the way we always imagined it, but something worse. Acknowledgement. We exist, we were seen, we were measured, and now, we wait, because contact doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with math, with physics, with slow creeping understanding that something far older, far more advanced, far more deliberate, just scanned your species, blinked once, and logged you into some unimaginable archive. That's what this is. A check-in. And we passed the only test that mattered. We noticed. You think about the implications. What if Earth's history is full of these moments? Forgotten alignments. Comets that came and went. Messages sent and never answered. Ancient warnings buried in myth, in temples, in language we no longer understand. But this time, we were ready, not to fight, to witness, to recognize the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, to look up and not look away. The swarm begins to disperse now, not chaotically, elegantly, like performers exiting stage left after the final act. One by one, the comets drift away. Swan bends north, Lemon slings east, Ra-2 fades behind the Assumption, Borisov shrinks into the black, and 3I/ATLS Ellis, it lingers, just beyond the edge of gravitational escape, watching, waiting, and then, with one final burst of light, a pulse you'll feel in your chest before you see with your eyes, it leaves, beyond, into the stars, back toward the silence it came from, and now it's up to us, because that wasn't the climax, it was the prologue. The signal has been sent, the data has been logged, the coordinates have been confirmed, and somewhere out there a response is forming. Maybe it will take days, maybe decades, maybe lifetimes, but now the countdown begins, not toward destruction, toward conversation, toward what comes after the first recognition, and it won't come with answers, it'll come with expectations. So what do? We prepare, we learn, we look up and stay looking, because the next time the sky moves like that, it won't just be a signal, it will be an arrival. So hold on to this moment, etch it into memory. The night the stars blinked, the night a message rode in on the tail of fire, the night you realized you are not alone, and never were. Subscribe now, because the next chapter is coming, and when it does, you'll want to be ready.